All right, grown-ups, it's just our time. I love the babies, but to help you, I gotta speak my mind. This segment's here to help you grow with book reviews, lessons, and things you'll be glad to know. If your little one's restless or looking to play, send them to my other playlist. The read alouds there will brighten their day. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Behind the Book. I'm Miss Erica, the teacher lady, your fairy godparent when it comes to sharing joyful stories and growing young minds. Now, all this week we are learning about civic duty and community. How do you get your child involved in being part of community, and what easy ways, asterisk on the word easy, what simple ways or things can they do to feel like they are also responsible for keeping community, well, community. And of course, we are using books to be able to do so. For this Behind the Book segment, we are going to do a deep dive on the rhino who swallowed a storm, a story of a rhino who was having a difficult time, even dealing with sadness or what some might call depression, and how community stepped up to help him through his darkest moments. In this Behind the Book segment, we will be going over the glows, what I think was done really well, the grows, what I think could have been done a little bit differently, who this book is for and the target audience, how to use it as a resource to have a more robust conversation with your little one, and so much more, all in this segment of Behind the Book, where we go beyond the pages to get to the heart of the story. You ready? Let's grow. Summary in my own words. The Rhino Who Swallowed a Storm is really a story of allowing people to show up for you. In the story, the rhino, who is the main character, is having a difficult time due to a storm. He feels like he lost everything. He has no idea how to move forward. They even show him in this hole that he just cannot get out of. And by the end of the story, he is in better spirits or has a better overall mood because community had showed up to help him time and time again. So it's really a story of friendship, love, and community. It's a story of perseverance and moving past that hard thing that is within you. And overall, it is a beautifully illustrated children's book that is going to help encourage children to rely on the people that surround them. Was the take home message clearly communicated to the target audience? So, for me, the take home message is to really show up for those around you and allow them to show up for you. It's simple yet impactful. This is really shown through the animals and how they helped, how they sent messages, how they threw down ropes, and all the ways that they made sure that Rhino was safe and okay as he was kind of going through this hard time and feeling his emotions. That message was absolutely clearly communicated to children, I would say 5 years old and up. Children who are at the beginning stages of their reading, who can understand simple stories, would absolutely be able to get a lot from this book. I do feel like the illustrations were very well done, would not on their own clearly convey the book. So I'd recommend this story for children ages 5 years old and up. Who should add this to their home library? There are so many different families that can add this book to their home libraries. If you are an adult, get the book. If you're a child, get the book. If you have a child who is having a hard time relying on people or trusting other people, get the book. If you have a child struggling with their own mood, get the book. This is one of those situations that I call a staple book. Now, if you have been on the channel for at least a couple of weeks, you may have heard me mention staple books. Staple books are books that any library should have because you can easily build a library around them. Okay, so think of it at a book at the center that can easily be incorporated with other stories. So the book has animals, it has friendship, it has community, it has a problem that has to be solved. There are so many elements of this story that fit well in most people's library. I'd actually have a hard time finding a person or a family that should not have this story. Very well done and definitely a beautiful addition, timeless addition to your collection. Glows, what I think was done well. One of the glows for me is truly using animals. Now, y'all know I love people, I love diversity in terms of people in the story, but there's something about this story using animals that removes anything physical that otherwise might stop a child from getting the message. And sometimes that's important. This is why your library should be diverse, even in terms of symbols or different animals, different cultures, so on and so forth. Because for here, it isn't, well, this group of people are depressed or this group of people struggle with sadness. They're animals. And animals help just focus on the message of the story. And for that, that is definitely a glow for me. The rhino being the main character of the story. I like the dynamic of even like the rhino being lifted by the whale. I like the fact that the rhino is larger in size and stature, but was still able to be pulled up out the hole or sit on a tortoise. It was not focused on the rhino being a burden or too heavy or too big. Instead, it really brought this person to the forefront to say, hey, we're going to do what we can to make sure that this person is okay because this is who needs our attention right now. And that was beautifully done. The second glow I would have for this story is the rhyming element. I love a good rhyming story. If you have not already done so, be sure to check out Princess Iridescent and a Cloudy Day because that book also is rhyming and it's just a fun story to check out. But that brings me to this one because this is also a rhyming story. Rhyming stories are really awesome, but they still have to convey the message. And oftentimes that gets muddy and lost. For the rhino who swallowed a storm, the message is not lost at all. It rhymes page to page, so it has a really beautiful cadence, yet and still, the message is extremely clear. So, doing those two things at the same time, kudos to the creators of the book. Super awesome and amazing resource. And the third glow would have to be the illustrations. I truly feel that Courtney Fletcher did an awesome and intentional job at making sure that the story comes through as much as possible within the images. And even though I think that you have to be able to read the words and see the pictures in order for it all to come together, the photos on their own definitely clearly show the emotions of the different animals. I also, just from like a book nerd perspective, love that the words kind of flowed through the pages and weren't just stagnant in the way that they were written. I feel like it adds another layer and kind of just overall engagement when it comes to the story. Grows. So I actually only have one grow for this story, and it might be a little difficult considering I didn't read this part in the read aloud. So in the beginning of the story, it starts off with the mouse speaking to another mouse. So, like a grandpa mouse speaking to the baby mouse. And the baby mouse is scared because a storm is coming. And then the grandpa mouse takes out a book and then goes into reading The Rhino Who Swallowed a Storm. I don't feel like it added any value. And so I guess it's a grow because it felt like an unnecessary element of the book. The story really starts in the story, and I don't think the other pages were necessary. I don't think that it hurt, but I also am not sure the benefit or how it helped. And really, that would be my only grow. I love this book. It is one that you can read over and over again, but never get tired of. And the message, the colors, the rhyming, there's so much that's amazing about it. So, if I had to pick a grow, it would be that one. How to utilize this book as a resource to have a more robust conversation with your child. The first is I would start off by really asking my child, like, what do you think the storm represents? So, in the story, the rhino is having a hard time after facing this storm because of all the loss. And so, in a lot of ways, that is symbolic for other things that people are struggling with. And I would use this book as a resource to get that information or to try to get that information out of my child. As always, I recommend as the parent, You start the discussion, because a lot of times if you lead, it encourages the child to also share and to also open up. So you might start off with, to me, the storm really represented being at this job that is hard for me. There's a lot of new technology and things that feel confusing and overwhelming. And it was a reminder that just because it's hard right now, it doesn't really mean that it always has to be. What storm are you dealing with in your life? Or in what ways does this represent a storm in your life? And so going first as an example and then pulling them in, I feel like would be really beneficial for this story. I would also utilize this book as a resource to discuss depression. And maybe you don't even have to use the word depression, but what it means to be in this slump and this overwhelming sadness. And what are some practical ways in your child's life that help them to get out of that mood? So in the book, the rhino was able to be loved on and accept the love and the kindness of all of these different animals. For your child, it might be when they go swimming, it helps to pull them out of that storm or out of that mood. It might be writing helps to pull them out of that storm or out of that mood. And so, what are the actual literal things in their life that help to change their mood when they are feeling down, that help combat that deep sadness or depression, and really reminding them that you have resources when things get hard? And then the last way that I would use this book as a resource to have a more robust conversation is really focusing on and normalizing the change, right? Like life is full of changes. We will not be happy all day, every day, and we will not be sad all day, every day. Instead, normalize going through the motions. For me, the rhino did not have to get happy all the way. He had to go through the process. There's a page that shows him crying and kind of letting out his emotions. There's a page that shows him raging. There's a page that shows him in community and, relying on them. And so understanding that sadness and depression, they come in waves, just like happiness, joy, just like being angry or anything else. It will change, or how they say, it too shall pass. Final thoughts. The rhino who swallowed a storm is really just a reminder that our burdens get a little bit lighter when we share them, that the things that are heavy for us become more manageable when we open up to other people. And on the other side of that, we too should be a resource for other people as needed whenever we are able to do so and whenever it is safe to do so. And this book is super symbolic of that. Thank you so much for joining me on this Behind the Book review. If you have not already done so, be sure to check out the Read Aloud located on the Teacher Lady Reads playlist. And if you need more tools or resources to help you help your child to understand their role when it comes to community and civic duty, be sure to check out our Teacher Lady Speaks episode that airs Friday. That playlist is dedicated to utilizing my experience teaching tiny humans to help enhance your experience raising them. You see what I did there? So on Friday, we have a crash course on how to get your child to get it, whatever it may be. And for this week, that it is community and civic duty, because they have got to join in, okay? As a long-time reading specialist, I want to bring your attention to something that is dear to my heart, and it is a pay it forward book program called the Empathy Library. If you enjoy this channel or any of the work that I do, I ask that you take a moment to go check it out. It's extremely straightforward. You go, you donate what you can. That money purchases books intentionally for children that need them. And then boom, they get given out to the communities that are on our list. It's super straightforward. You give, they get. You give, they get, and it just keeps going, because we all deserve to have books that are intentionally designed with us in mind. Until next time, remember to enjoy the moment, or go be a joy in the moment. Bye.